good, everybody? It's your boy Phil Visu, and if you know anything about Apex, you know the man sitting to my left, absolute legend. Okay, once grinded to Predator in 54 hours. This man has done it all, from the competitive side of things to the content side of things, and now stepping into a new chapter. It's Timmy. Thank you first and foremost, my guy, for taking some time to talk to me. How are you feeling right now here at EWC?
I'm feeling pretty good. This is the day right after our tournament, so obviously, I'm a little bummed out that we couldn't make it to finals. I wish that I could end off my retirement in my last tournament with, at least a finals placement. But, overall, the experience of just competing here, the people around, the staff, everyone, it's just really great to see. Everyone was like super nice, and they've been wishing me like the best for my future, and it was really exciting competing on the stage.
Love that for you, bro. That's how you know you've left a good mark for sure right there. Like, even in defeat, it doesn't matter. Like, the vibes are still immaculate, you know what I mean? Still keeping your head high, and that's what's up. Now, for me, I always like to kind of go back to, like, the start of things, because obviously to get to retirement, you had to get to this point in the first place, right? So, like, for you, what was, like, a defining moment where you realized, like, you know what, bro? I want to pursue gaming, like, beyond a hobby and, like, actually make a career out of this. When did you know?
Wow.
It's a loaded question, I know.
Yeah, I know. I would say... Like, I started gaming when I was like 5.
Yeah.
And my brother was always just playing, on the PC, and I was like, oh, like, make me an account, let me play. So then, started gaming with my brother, and we play like loads of stuff, like Maple Story, Soldier Front 2, went to like then console, playing Halo with each other, Call of Duty, all that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was just like, just me being a kid, having, regular like gaming life.
Yeah, of course.
But then I would say when I started becoming a little bit more serious in my eyes was probably around like high school. I started playing games more competitively, like League of Legends.
Yep.
Playing like the ranked, or playing Counter-Strike, playing PUBG, Rainbow Six Siege. And around that time, I felt like I was like, dang, I feel like I'm pretty decent. Like, I don't think I'm like a, like top player, like a pro player in any way, but I thought I was like pretty solid. So from there, after watching, a bunch of people on YouTube and watching like, someone like Shroud, he was somebody I was like, wow, that's really cool.
That's the OG right there.
To be like the greatest FPS player, I'm like, dang, I'm go for that, So then, after high school, when I graduated, I decided to start streaming and just start see if like I could do it. Didn't really do it. I was all right, it didn't go that well.
Sure.
So then I was like, my mom and dad were like, all right, time to go to college. And, typical Asian life. My parents are like, okay, you should try to be a doctor, lawyer, dentist, typical stuff, or software engineer.
Follow the blueprint.
Yeah. So then, yeah, that's what I did. I went to computer science, and I did it for a year. And that was probably, in terms of just like stress, that was the worst time of my life. Oof. 100%. It was... I'm not that smart academically. Very like not good book smart at all.
We're not so different, you and I.
So when I was there, I was just like, sleeping in class, missing class. Even when I tried, I just couldn't do it.
Right.
And eventually, I was getting like 40s or 30s in my class. I'm like, dang, this is looking bad.
Looking a little rough right now.
This is like raps. So then I go back to my my parents, and I'm telling them like, all right, college ain't it. I don't want to do it. It's not for me. I feel like I could do something else. And I told them I wanted to pursue gaming, and I wanted to be a streamer. And I told them that I just need a couple, some time, Obviously I asked for a year, but a year is a lot. So they said, you give you 6 months, you know what I mean? So, okay.
They met you in the middle.
Yeah, met me in the middle.
Decent,
yeah. And then, that's kind of what happened. And I started my streaming career from there.
Was that a hard build up to have to go back to them and tell them like, I'm just not feeling college, like, my heart's somewhere else? Like, were you a little nervous having to have that conversation with them?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would say at the time, my dad was definitely like a very strict Asian parent. He very traditional. Just thinks he's a chiropractor, so he's like, you just gotta go to school. You gotta do this. This is how life is.
Yes.
Kind of just
no middle ground.
Yeah, no middle ground. That's the way it is. But my brother and sister actually did God's work. They were just like, no, like trust him. He's really good, and he's got it, and like it could be a career, and they're kind of persuading them, and it took some time, maybe like a week of thinking, but eventually they're like, okay, well, we'll let you start gaming.
Okay.
And then
Love that.
yeah, from there I was just like, wow, I can't believe that happened. I was super nervous. I was like if they don't do this, I'm going to the streets. You know what I mean? Like I cannot go back to school.
Oh my God.
But yeah, they've been my biggest supporters ever since they decided to let me start gaming.
Well, I'm glad they let you, man, because you did something that was really incredible. That 54-hour bronze to predator run that you did, incredible. People still talk about that. During that marathon, what was kind of going through your mind? And like, was there any points where you're just like, I don't know if I can keep going through it, or were you just like, because like me, if I stream, I'm like, I'm proud if I do 3 or 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? You're at 54. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say there were a lot of times during it where I was like, dang, I need to go to bed. Like it's getting bad, for sure. When I decided to do it was at a really good time. It was right when the Warzone streamers were coming over to play Apex.
Okay.
So Apex viewership was at an all-time high.
Yeah. It's a good sweet spot. Yeah.
It was really good, and it was also like during the time where I was actually at my peak in general, like in terms of like mechanical skills and also just viewership. So I was like, okay, well, let me try to do this thing that no one has ever really done before in Apex. Maybe someone has done it in different games. Obviously not paying attention globally like that.
Gotcha.
But I was like, yeah, I don't think anyone's ever gone to bronze to pred in one stream. And people, when rank resets, regrind from platinum to pred in one day. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, bronze to platinum is not gonna take that long. It's gonna take maybe like 12 hours. So I was like, okay, should be easy.
Yeah.
So then that's why I was like, okay, it's gonna take me 24 hours. It ain't gonna be that hard.
You thought it was only gonna take 24 hours in total?
I genuinely thought it was only gonna take one day. So I decided it. I was like, yeah, let's do that. No really big planning. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna get some good night's sleeps before. That's like, all I thought of.
Of course.
But no like training, no prepping. I was just like, all right, this day, let's do it. And then it happened, and I was like, wow, it's crazy.
That's amazing, dude. Especially when you think about the fact it was like I was only planning for a day, and it went like clearly much longer than that. But again, obviously it was worth doing for sure. Wow, that's really good content too. And I know you're a super competitive guy as well. But like, at what point did like the content maybe start to outweigh the importance of being competitive? Like, was there kind of like a shift at some point where you're like, man, this is a little easier to do, a little bit more fun, less stress. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about in terms of like the solo bronze to pred, or just competitive?
No, just in general.
In
like
general.
Being a competitor versus like being a content creator in your mind.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like after I did that stream, I was like, dang, that was peak. You know what I mean? That was actually genuinely the peak of my career, and it felt like I accomplished all I really could do in content creation for Apex. And that's essentially why I did the Valorant one as well, and changed, try to do it in a different game.
Of course.
So content for me felt very hard to kind of make me be like eager to, I want to do this, I want to do that, right? Because when you're aiming for like high kill games or pub stomping, rank stomping, right? Like eventually you can have those good games, and like doing it every single day eventually gets a little stale. Obviously I could have tried different types of stuff, like maybe I try to see if I can 1v3 Apex Predator players in like an arenas, but after that I was just like, I need something to kind of revive me, like the thrill in gaming. And that's why I started doing competitive, because I knew mechanically I was a really good player, but in terms of like professional play, like I had no experience. Apex has been my first competitive game ever, so I was like, this is a challenge that I know is gonna be very hard. And as I like kept playing, as I kept getting better, it just kept, I was like getting hungry. It's kind of like
that, yeah.
It's like kind of playing Apex for the first time when I was like a small streamer. It just like felt so good to, win a game, to get a couple of kills, to start dropping 4Ks, 20 bombs, right? And when you start, getting those and like working for that, it's like, oh, it's such an addicting feeling to just win.
Big facts, because I mean there is a difference between like being competitive pub stomper and then like the competitive scene, right? So the fact you're able to like challenge yourself and open those new doors, I think it's personally amazing. Now I know you've competed on some of the biggest stages in like Japan, obviously here at the EWC. Like, what is it like being a part of like Apex at this level? Because not everybody's gonna get to experience it.
It's crazy. Honestly, I would say it's a life that I definitely dreamt of when I was younger, and to experience it now.
Yep.
Sometimes I do forget like how crazy of a position I am, in that I get to just live this life. I get to be able to play video games for a living, and be able to be supported by so many people to compete at the highest stage. you know, I would say that people sometimes, I think, overlook how hard it is to, balance a lot of things in life, whether it's their health, whether it's, gaming, their family, friends, and so many things. And as you're competing, those things do bleed into like your performance. I would say like for me, I definitely played the best when I was the most like happiest mentally, and as I kept, having to overcome more difficulties with adulthood and struggles with like, friends, family, and
Yeah.
everything, you know, it's not like it's something I'm thinking about when I'm competing, but it's something that affects the practice times. When things are not going good in scrims, then it's like maybe that day is just like, oh, it's a bad day, no big deal. The next day, I'm like, I'm having a bad day. Those things, maybe I'm more irritated, and maybe I'm not more willing to learn that day.
I hear you. Yeah.
So it all builds up into like the actual performance overall.
A lot of times, yeah, it's a perfect storm to like get everything to kind of like flow correctly. A lot of times, especially like competing at your level, and I know ALGS is heading back to Japan, I believe, next year, which I think is pretty sick. Are you pretty optimistic for the future of Apex, even if you're kind of stepping back from the competitive side of things? Like, how do you see it evolving?
I think them choosing to do Japan was one of the best things they could do for Apex. The community in Japan is just amazing. Their support is so crazy. And I knew that before I even came into competitive. Like when I was a content creator, I knew that the Japanese like audience was just an audience that you had to be a part of.
Oh yeah, they're huge.
So I made a YouTube channel just for them. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that we get to compete in Japan, Japan is such a cool place. I do think that is going to consistently help them. Bring the communities together. And I mean, I think Apex competitively will still do all right as long as the game can maintain its stable like health and how the game plays.
Right on. Well, I feel like you've given an excellent kind of look into your mind on like why you decided like right now is a good time to kind of step back, a little bit of the retirement. But with that coming into it, your next chapter, what is the thing that you're most excited for? Is it like just being strictly about streaming, maybe some collaborations we don't know about, or even anything else that's on the table that maybe you want to reveal to us right now, or maybe you just don't even know?
Baddies. No.
Okay, no, hey, go ahead, keep it in.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I would say for me, I think if anyone really watched me when I was like coming into the scene, I've always felt like I was a shy guy.
Yeah.
I always felt like I couldn't really go up to people, talk to them, introduce myself. And yeah, I was always like, I felt like the person who spoke the least amount in like the friend groups.
Yeah.
I would always just let other people talk because they seemed like they knew what they were talking about, and I'm over here just vibing.
I like that.
But over time, as I started like having more experience in like the scene, like socially and like networking, talking to my teammates, coaches, staff, a lot of people, I slowly started becoming more comfortable with like not the other people, but more myself, and being less like hard on myself. I definitely was like too afraid of like what people thought about me, or if I was like too cringe, or this and that. And I think that's a very normal like thought process that people go through. And I felt like I got to experience life really quickly, and yeah, now I feel like I'm at a point where I can show my personality, and I've been kind of showing it a little bit as I was competing still.
Yeah.
But I feel like content creation for me right now is the best way to express my personality fully, and I'm excited. I'm not too sure exactly what I have stored in future. It's kind of like play it by ear and see where life takes me, and I'm excited for that. So I think it's going to be just as a big of a struggle as comp was, but I do think I'll have a lot more fun this time.
Okay,
because there will be less, in my opinion, less stress from other reasons. Like let's say I would say in competitive, you have more negative comments. You know,
Yeah.
people are always, you know, nitpicking every single small detail
Praying
about
on
you.
your downfall.
Yeah, praying on your downfall. But, you know, I'm sure that people, you know, when I was a content creator, I had that too, but it's different. It's a little less, you know.
Okay, right on. Now, one last thing I would like to ask you, because I know you're gonna have like a ton of fans, you know, checking this out, and just like aspiring, you know, gamers themselves, like, you know, any younger fans or any aspiring competitive players, like, what would you say to them if they're trying to like really build something meaningful when it comes to gaming, or just get something out of it? Like, any words of advice you could offer?
I would say the biggest thing that you could do is definitely just try new things. Um, I think it's very easy to just do the same thing over and over, do what's comfortable because, you know, like who doesn't want to be at the comfort of, you know, their safe space.
Yeah.
But when you know, expand and you try new things and you take risk, you eventually start growing into somebody that you honestly probably wish you were,
Yeah.
you know? And I've taken a lot of risk in my life. I've had a lot of tough decisions, and when I look back at it, I am really happy with where I am right now, and I don't ever really think about like, oh, what if I chose that side, or what if I did this instead, you know? Like, obviously, if I'm in that comp, I'm like, dude, what if I went up that zip line and we could have got that one extra point for finals?
Right.
You know, obviously, those small things might happen, but I don't think things have changed my life like dramatically in terms of like decision makings have made me like really regret my choices, and I'm really happy where I am, and I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, you just want to try to grow into someone like bigger and better, you know?
Yeah. Well, from what I can tell, man, you've definitely grown into somebody who should be respected and appreciated, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today for sure, man. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you so much as well.
No doubt about that. All right, guys, make sure you tap in, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.